Good morning and welcome to Morning Meditations. Today's Proverbs chapter 28. I just want to read a few verses, but I'd encourage you to read the whole chapter, beginning in verse 19. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that hasteth to be rich shall not be innocent. To have respect of persons is not good, for a piece of bread that man will transgress. He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not the poverty shall come upon him. He that rebuketh a man afterward shall find more favor than he that flattereth with his tongue. Now when I read Proverbs 28, I see three things that are contrasted there. Number one, if you read the entire chapter, you'll see a contrast of motives. Are you doing the right thing or are you doing the wrong thing? Are you doing it for the right reason or the wrong reason? So we see a contrast of motives. Second of all, we see a contrast of methods. Why do we do what we do? Not only the reason behind it, but why are we doing what we do? And then thirdly, I see a contrast of messages. And boy, I just came across some things the other day. I was reading, and somebody was expressing an opinion about right and wrong. And I want us to realize by reading Proverbs chapter 28, and even if you go back to the Garden of Eden, Satan, the world, the flesh, always gives us the choice to choose the lesser of two evils. Where God says, hey, I want you to choose right regardless or irrespective of the results. So along with those three contrasts, I want to give you a biblical philosophy I believe we can get out of Proverbs 28, and it's why we do what we do. You can do right rightly, do right wrongly, do wrong rightly, and wrong wrongly. Now what am I trying to say there? Many people think, hey, I can do right, but I can do it with the wrong methods, or the wrong message, or the wrong motives. And that's not true. I hear this over and over again. Well, there's a lot of gray areas. When I look at the Word of God, I do not see gray areas. I just see black and white. Principles, precepts. We mentioned Psalm 119 the other day about the Word of God. And I want to encourage you to realize there really aren't a lot of gray areas. There's doing right rightly, doing right wrongly, doing wrong rightly, and that's the crowd today that says, hey, listen, we can do wrong and it'll end up right. That's definitely not true. But then, sad to say, in our world today, there's a lot of folks that are doing wrong wrongfully, and just really Proverbs 28 points the contrasts out there. My job is not to set everybody else right. Instead, it's to keep myself right. And boy, when I look at that through the lens of the Word of God, there are areas for all of us to improve. None of us choose rightly all the time, but we ought to have a perspective that we can see that. We ought to be able to see, hey, this may be right, but I'm not going to do wrong to do right. We want to, as Bob Jones Sr. used to say, do right till the stars fall. And boy, we want to make sure as a Christian, we look at Proverbs 28, we want to contrast the motives, the methods, and the message, and make sure they line up with the biblical philosophy of doing right rightfully, and not doing right wrongly, or doing wrong rightly, or doing wrong wrongly. And there's examples of each one of those, but just real quickly, I had a friend about 16, 17 years ago that said, well, I just tell people the truth. Well, you may be doing right, but you're doing it in a wrong way. Boy, let's make sure that when we're telling people the truth, we have gotten the mote out of our own eye before we take the telephone pole out of someone else's eye, so to say. And so as a Christian, I want to encourage you, read Proverbs 28 and make sure that we have that biblical discernment, the evaluation that will help us to have a good Christian life. God bless you and have a good morning.